Welcome back to another video. We recently got an update on the PTR, which means we have a ton of new items to be data mined. For the first bit of news, Agron stated that Hunters, Mages, and Warlocks would be receiving some updates on the PTR later this week. In addition, other classes will see some adjustments, and world buffs are expected to make an appearance on the PTR shortly after this. Agron also stated that players should keep an eye on the World of Warcraft YouTube channel this week, hinting that we might see a Phase 4 preview video. This is all very exciting. Hopefully we get some sort of announcement or some kind of date to kind of prepare for when Phase 4 will launch. Class-specific tier tokens have been discovered on the PTR for Phase 4. We're going to have the classic tier token system that we kind of seen within Sunken Temple. So Priest, Mage, Warlock will share a tier token, Warrior, Rogue, Druid will share a tier token, and Pally, Hunter, Shaman will share a tier token. Hopefully there's going to be some sort of adjustment with that. It seems that the Pally, Hunter, Shaman token is going to be pretty free since Pally and Shaman will never raid together. So it's only going to be two classes after that specific token. So unless Horde get Paladins and Shamans go to the Alliance side, this is going to be the easiest tier token to acquire. However, it should be noted that this is still on the PTR and it can change in the coming weeks whenever they update the PTR. Next, we got a new Warrior Raid buff that provides a Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer buff. It's a weaker version of this and it doesn't stack, so you're not going to have to worry about stacking warriors in your raid at all times. I guess they're adding this to kind of make warriors a bit more desirable to play since they've nerfed them into the ground with some of the updates we already got on the PTR. Let me know what you think about this change. I think it's the wrong approach if you're trying to make everything have like a more balanced playing field. I think this buff just gets taken out of the game, revert all the changes, and just start buffing the classes that were underperforming instead of nerfing the classes that are overperforming. I thought the fundamental goal in the beginning when it was announced at BlizzCon was, hey, instead of nerfing warriors, we're going to make everybody else overpowered like warriors, right? But I guess they're kind of ditching that thought process. Next, we got a green Goblin Shredder model that has been data mined on the PTR. Here's what it looks like. Not sure what this is going to pertain to, but there's a lot of items that kind of hint towards goblins and the Steam Weedle cartel, so we'll have to see what this thing is even going to be. It looks like it could be a mount to me. Maybe it's a pet, who knows? We'll have to just wait and see what this turns out to be. Next, we're going to go into more of the item updates and just skim through these as quickly as possible. We got a lot to go through, so I'm not going to talk about every single item, but I will go over the ones that kind of stuck out to me. First up, we have the 3-piece Magmadar set. It looks like it's going to summon a mini Magmadar to fight alongside you. This is kind of a cool little unique update. I'm all for changes like this to make other items that were just completely skipped and irrelevant more relevant to where people actually want these items when they drop in the raid rather than, oh, it's just going to get disenchanted. It's Vendor Strike, right? It seems like a cool niche little thing to have in the game. Next, we have a new Hydraxian Waterlord's Reputation trinket. It will provide 10 fire resistance and 50 on use, but the way that this thing reads, it says those who reside within. Is it going to be some sort of like bubble that shields the raid and other players can jump inside of this bubble? This might be something useful on like a more harder Ragnaros fight or something like that where another mechanic's introduced where you have to shield the whole raid. I don't know. This seems pretty interesting to see how this thing will work. Talking about the Hydraxian Waterlords, we have another one that just says, visit the Waterlords, and it's a 2-hour cooldown. I assume this just takes you straight to Duke Hydraxis within Ashara. This has always been a very tedious task to go all the way back there after your raid to get another douse or to finish the quest or anything like that. Hopefully that's what this will do. It just takes you straight to him and you don't have to worry about teleporting back to him every single time after raid, because it was very annoying to get all the way back over there every single time you needed another douse. We have two new 18-slot bags found on the PTR. We have one that is for tailoring, and then we have an 18-slot bag that is pretty similar to a bottomless bag. So maybe this drops from a boss or something like that. Maybe this will be similar to the Pantherhide sack that drops off of the boss in Zul'Gurub. Next, we got a bunch of trinkets that are brand new to the game. I'll briefly go over these. I'll leave it on screen so you could just look at them yourself, but from left to right, we have your chance to get a critical strike with all spells and attacks by 1%, and then a 80 on use for your strength for 20 seconds. Below that, we have nature resistance increased by 90 for 30 seconds with some stamina. Below that, we have 4+ weapon damage, and then an on use with 60 strength. Below that, we have the Cold Embrace, which is 20 frost res, and then will increase your run speed by 40% for 10 seconds. After that, it's the Dark Heart of Darkness, 20 Shadow Resed, removes all movement impairing effects as well as loss of control to your character, so I would assume this means mind control effects as well. Above that, we have the fire extinguisher, which will give you 23 fire res and remove all magic effects that are fire. And then above that, we have the poison seed, which will increase your nature damage by 115. This will last for 20 seconds and it will also give you 1% hit for your spells. We got some new rings to talk about. We got the wedding band that is going to allow you to transfer 5% of your threat to a party member or raid member. This effect can only be used on one target at a time, but it has a very long cooldown of 30 minutes, so not going to be that useful. Maybe they'll change that down and make it a shorter cooldown to be more relevant throughout a whole raid instead of just 1 or 2 fights. Next, we have a really interesting ring called the Diplomat Ring. It has a very cool on use that says parlay with an opposing priest to gain safe passage through enemy territory. We'll just have to wait and see what that exactly means. It has a vendor price of only 1 copper, and it doesn't have an on use or a CD to tell you how many times you can use this. So my guess is that it's not going to make it to live servers. This is an item that was data mined for a future phase or something like that. Again, we'll just have to wait and see if it makes it to live servers. Next, we have some new trinkets. We got the Brood Mother's Brooch. It's going to provide you with 15 fire res. The Prester's Hairpin. It's going to provide you with 150 healing power for 20 seconds. And then we have the Molten Core Trinket, a 20 fire res trinket that inflicts 20 fire damage to enemies every 1 second. If you do some really big AoE pulls, this thing might be really good. Next, we have 2 cloaks that are identical in stats. We have the Drape of the Fire Lord and then Domo's Drape. They both provide you with 22 agi, 12 stamina, 6 fire, and 6 nature resistance. And the last of the new items that we'll talk about today is the Key to the City. It's going to be a 2-handed staff that gives you 23 stam, 40 intellect, 16 spirit, and then 60 spell power. Here's a quick look at some items that got buffed up a bit. I'm not going to go over every single item or this video would be just way too long. For example, some items like the Mage Blade didn't get buffed at all. Well, it got buffed by 1 stamina. This could of course all change, so take this very lightly. Toep, for example, was 175 spell power and now provides you with 190 spell power. Staff of Dominance used to be 40 spell power, 1% crit, and now it gives you 47 spell power, 1% crit, and it has 1 more intellect as well. That's about it for this video. I'll be making more videos like this in the future, so if you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much, and I will of course see you in the next one.